All right, Brandon, welcome to the show. How are we doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. We always love having defending or still national champion on. But now, obviously moved on to your next step, which we'll get into. But before we get into that, we had Hunter Elliott on a couple weeks ago, and you're in a different spot than him. He's obviously coming back to defend the title. You've moved on and been drafted. But for you, has the feeling wore off yet?
I don't know if the feeling will ever wear off, to be honest with you. You dream it all your life to become a national champ, especially at a place like Ole Miss, and that feeling is still with you. It took a long time to even get that feeling to believe it that you actually did it. So I truly don't know if the feeling can ever go away.
Yeah, Daniel, that seems to be the consistent answer, and I believe these guys. I've never been a champion, Brandon, so I don't know, but most of you guys seem to say the same thing. It really doesn't ever wear off, and I imagine so. I mean, you accomplished something that the whole reason you're there. So, but before your Ole Miss days, let's take it all the way back, man. Where are you from?
So I'm from this little old town called Cottondale, Alabama. It's about 20 minutes outside of Tuscaloosa.
You didn't grow up an Alabama fan, did you?
Well, that's the thing. I absolutely did. I'm sorry to
Ah,
break. Yeah, I know. You live that close to the university, though. You're kind of bred into it.
all right.
It's
So I got a
probably
question.
it's
Go
probably
ahead.
a good thing Randy's not on the episode.
But that's actually where I was going with this. I was going to ask him right now, who's winning, Alabama or Tennessee this weekend in
uh,
football?
See, that's the thing. I'm an Ole Miss fan. I am truly an Ole Miss fan now, but Alabama will as long as Bryce Young comes back, I have no doubt that Alabama will walk away with that.
We will see. But yeah, Randy's a Tennessee fan, so we ain't got to have the argument. I'm an LSU fan. Tennessee just beat the brakes off my team, so I don't even care. But let's talk about, you're obviously from small town Alabama, man. What's the family life like? I think I've seen you had some siblings and everything.
Yes, I got two little sisters. You can call it like the American family growing up. We had a really good household. Parents, they're great to me, gave me all the support I could ever ask for. They just wanted me to achieve what I wanted to achieve. They gave me every resource I could possibly have. It's the best support system I could ask for through this entire journey, whether it was high school, through college, and now at the next level. I know they'll always have my back, so it's nice to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't get better than that. So your sisters, are they by chance athletes?
Yeah, so the middle sister, she's actually playing at Snead State. It's a community college in Alabama. She plays softball there.
Awesome, awesome. So, we see that you played all sports growing up and everything. When you were younger, was baseball your best sport, or did it just become your best sport later?
Yeah, so this is how I explain it. Baseball was my least favorite sport. Uh, Absolutely, football was my favorite, but a 5'11", 160-pound white dude playing free safety in high school isn't going to cut it at the next level. So it went football, then basketball, and then I was just happened to be best at baseball.
Daniel, we are like 145 guests deep into this podcast, and I found somebody who can, I can relate to. I was 5'11", 160 pounds safety that just wasn't working. So, but
I thought
unfortunately, I can't throw like you, so that doesn't help me out at all.
I thought you were gonna go the basketball route and ask him if he could actually hoop.
He actually can hoop. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I've seen my man he can do any.
Yeah.
This is an athlete. We will get there. Talking about this, being a multi-sport guy, there had to be, athletes that you looked up to. Was there any popular athletes that inspired you, no matter what sport it was?
Well, yeah, I think you're going to like this answer. It was actually Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was he was my sports hero, as you will, growing up. I lived in Indiana for 2 years of my life when he was with the Colts, and he is who I looked up to. Just how he controlled a team, controlled an offense. It was really fun to watch.
So in
This
Alabama,
makes no sense.
I know it does.
This makes no sense.
hey, I love it. Hey, you know what, Daniel? He reminds me of myself again.
This yeah I thought I was confused trying to follow who's Jim's favorite team, and I'm baffled.
See what happens, Brandon, is I'm really more of a player guy. I do have my teams,
sure.
but if a player moves teams that I absolutely love, next thing you know, I'll be rooting for that team, and everybody just gets really confused at times. So no different. I bet you were rooting for the Broncos with Peyton Manning, right? After
I was the second he left the Colts, and then he went to the Broncos. I was Broncos country the entire way, so I was happy to see him go out on top.
You
Now,
just bypassed the fact that he went to University of Tennessee, right? You just that doesn't even exist.
See, the thing is, I had a poster of him in my room, and my dad, he hated it because he couldn't stand Tennessee. So the fact that he was my idol, my dad had to get over it in some way, form, or fashion.
I mean, Eli Manning makes way more sense here, Brandon, but it's all good. It's all good.
I'm glad somebody finally understands.
So, talk about athletes that inspire you. Did you have a favorite sports movie growing up? You got a go-to sports movie?
Remember the Titans. It is the greatest sports movie you can ever ask for. Just because not only with it being based on a true story and the time frame that it was in, the lessons that it teaches is still so relevant now. And it was really cool to see a true story or people like that actually come together over a sport, because sports are very powerful. So it was pretty cool to see that.
Absolutely. No wrong answer there. So, we're talking about playing multiple sports and everything. Where did you go to high school at?
So I went to a school called Brookwood, Alabama. We have one stoplight. We had one Mexican restaurant and one little mom and pop shop. But it is my home, and I would never talk bad about it. That's for sure.
One stoplight, one Mexican restaurant. Whew, that is small because I lived in a small town before I moved to where I'm at now, which isn't too much bigger, but man, we had like 4 Mexican restaurants. So you only got one. That's saying something. But no,
I bet it was fire too. I bet it was so good.
I would 100% put that Mexican restaurant over any of it I've had so far.
They all the same to me. After I was stationed in California and you get real Mexican food, like you find out that it's completely different.
Oh, it is.
But you were a 4-year letter winner under head coach Jeff Bell in baseball, 4 years in basketball and football, team captain in all 3 sports, 2017 all-region selection in both baseball and football. Man, I got to ask you, Brandon, how do you manage to play not just all 3, but play them successfully and stay focused?
I think one of the reasons was the opportunity. Coming from a small town, there's not too many quote unquote athletes there. So it's not like you go to these bigger high schools where they don't make you play one sport, but if you want to excel in one sport, you kind of have to let go of some. So being able to have the opportunity to be in a small town, I think it helped a lot in that aspect. And then also just the people around me. We had a pretty good core system, a group of friends that wanted to push each other to be the best. In competition, I always believed iron sharpens iron in any way, form, or fashion. So that was really nice in high school because I had that. So those are the answers I would give to be how I was successful in all 3.
Yeah, and Daniel talks about this often because, in Florida, where he lives, a lot of athletes just play one sport, whether it's good year round, especially if you're a baseball player, that's the focus. Do you feel like being able to play all 3 sports just made you, especially like later when you focused on baseball, still made you a better baseball player, being an all-around athlete?
Oh, absolutely. You hear the argument these days. You need to focus on one sport, or the opposite of it. You can play multiple sports. I will be the biggest advocate to play multiple sports. You train your body to do different things. You train your body just to be an athlete. And a lot of times for a pitcher, that is how you get explosive. Even though it's such a simple step to throwing a baseball, having that athleticism sure does help. So I will always be an advocate of playing as many sports as you can for as long as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. We played multiple sports and we couldn't agree more. So, but you talked about football, and I went through your Instagram and I seen one of your posts about football almost being over, and you could tell just looking at the post how tore up you were that Friday night lights were not going to be a thing no more. How much do you miss the Friday night lights?
Oh, I mean, see, now you're taking me back to my people telling me close the year foot, but man, there's nothing better than when you walk out of the tunnel, whatever you want to call it, out of the locker room, and you see your entire town there, and seeing that support, it reminds you of like a college baseball atmosphere. You get out there and you see how many people are rooting for you, how many people are behind you, and you just can't beat that because you're about to go to war with your bestest friends, your teammates, the guys that you worked with the entire off season. And you really can't beat that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, no
So
doubt.
let me ask this. So in a town like that, and everything shuts down and everybody goes to the game, like if you win or like you have like a big time game, are you getting like free stuff at the Mexican restaurant?
Oh,
Like what they hooking you up or what?
absolutely. See, we had this saying, we would go to the mom and pop shop. See, that was more my thing. We'd go there and they give us free breakfast the Saturday after a big win. So it don't matter how sore you were, you made sure you got up and you were over there before 10 a.m. They treat you well. I mean, it's a great community. It's the Southern hospitality that you want to talk about. So even if you didn't win, the people always had your back. So it was a great atmosphere to be around.
Daniel, after the plug he gave to the restaurant being the best of the best, like they better have a dish after him. I'm just saying.
I'm telling you, the number 19.
The Brandon
What,
Johnson.
what's your number, Brandon?
It was 37 at Ole Miss, but
The number 37, the burrito 2 taco combo.
There you go. So, Daniel says something about basketball. Brandon, man, we have a lot of baseball dudes from all the SEC schools come on here and talk about they were hoopers, man. And, they always talk about that one time that they balled out. And then we find out from their teammates, they can't hoop at all. But, seeing you obviously played through high school, my question is not could you hoop then? Can you hoop now?
It depends on definition of hoop. I was always, and I am not afraid to say it, I was a system player. So my stats in high school, they were a solid 4 and 12. 12 assists and four points.
You're a perfect running mate, though.
I'm the perfect running mate. You need somebody that you want to get your shots off in an open gym. Oh, you take me with you. I'll play your defense, then we'll go down there and I can make sure you get the ball.
That's what I was about to say. Basically, he's like all the other guys, except he's a little bit more honest. He's straight defense.
Straight defense. I knew my way to get on the court when I was younger. So we made that happen as soon as possible.
Hey, I respect you for your honesty, but hey, there's got to be that guy in order for a team to have good chemistry, be able to run a fluid offense, play defense. You got to have that glue guy, and that's who you were. So playing these sports, at what point do colleges start to approach you in any of them or specifically baseball?
So actually the first college interest I got, take you back. I knew the only chance I was going to play college sports, well, at least in my mind, was going to be baseball. I knew my body frame for basketball or for football, it just wasn't going to happen realistically. But actually the first call I got was a basketball Division II, still in college in Tuscaloosa. They needed a point guard, pretty much a backup point guard to play defense when their point guard came off the field and to pass the ball, to run their offense. So that was actually the first college offer I got. And it was about junior year of high school. But baseball really picked up going into my senior year. It would have been the summer going into my senior year. And probably a lot different than a lot of y'all's guessed. Well, some of them. I only had 2 Division II offers for baseball. It was the minimum baseball offer. And that's just the kind of player with skill level. And I was perfectly okay with that. I was ready to go that route. And there's nothing wrong with that route. It's meant for some people. And that was the route that I went.
Yeah, no, actually, I mean, we have a lot that goes both ways. I mean, we even have, a former teammate of yours, Taylor Broadway, didn't have any offers at all across the board. So, you just never know how it's going to go. But with that being said, what was the reason you chose Columbia State of the options?
Yeah, so once I got redshirted at my Division II at University of Alabama Huntsville. So then when I decided to transfer, a big reason was I wanted to try to play with the big dogs. I wanted to try to play Division I baseball. And I felt Coach Korn, he has a really good program up at Columbia State. And the biggest stat that stuck out to me was he averaged 9.1 Division I players leaving his team a year. And he was there for 15 years. To me, I mean, that I just knew that was the best opportunity for me to develop and get to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, we've had guys on and they talk a lot of the same stuff, Brandon, about the JUCO being, a great stepping stone, but also a place to find yourself, kind of see where you fit in, see where you stack up. Because when you move from that high school level, especially in a small town where everyone knows everyone, you don't know what's out there until you get out there. So you end up going to Columbia State. You went 3-0 as a freshman. You had 58 strikeouts, a 3.31 ERA over, 50 innings of work. Um, you then turned around your sophomore year and threw 29 innings and went 5-0. You struck out 51 and walked only 8. Talk to me about that JUCO experience because I don't think people really appreciate the talent that JUCO provides. And I know, I played JUCO and was able to move on, so I know like the Tennessee level of JUCO talent. So I know like what you're dealing with at Columbia State.
I mean, you asked me, and I can tell you somebody like Taylor Broadway out of junior college. I can tell you Ben Joyce. I played against him back-to-back years when he was at Walters. Played against his brother, Drew Reckhart, who's now at Ohio State. You can go on and on about the players and the names that come from junior college and that make it. And I think a lot of it, you hit it right on the nail, is not only finding out where you stack up against these other players and against these talents, but it's finding yourself because junior college is not, it's not for the weak-minded because you don't get the glam, you don't get the fame, or you don't really get the reward that some like Division II or bigger universities can offer. So you go there and you really have to find your passion for the game, or if you even have a passion for the game. I know some guys that were plenty good enough, but they just decided, you know what, this might not be for me, and that was perfectly okay. But junior college, yeah, I'm a huge advocate for it because it allows people to find a stepping stone to get to their next place in life, rather it is a Division I level or a lower level of baseball or just not playing at all.
So let me ask you this. I just look at the 2 seasons. Did
Yes.
you predict that you would be, or had the success and find yourself, as you say, as quick as you did? Or did you think that, it might be kind of rocky to start and then you kind of might balance out, but then you might overall figure it out?
Our coaches at Columbia State were very open with us. So going through that first season, I was about half a starter, half out of the bullpen. And he was just very truthful about how my stuff would play, what kind of success I would have. And you can tell because in a junior college, a lot of people don't realize you have a full junior college schedule. You play Division I, you play other junior colleges, you play these scout teams, pro teams. So you can see where you rank against quality games. So I knew I was going to have some success. Didn't know what kind of level, because you truly don't know what kind of level. I mean, you have first rounders who have bust seasons because they just don't perform. So it turns into just performance wise. So confidence wise, I knew I could do it. It was just all about if I could perform at that certain time.
So obviously you have 2 very successful seasons. At what point do you start thinking about, all right, what's my next step? And then at what point do other colleges start coming in and going, hey, Brandon, like, I think you're the guy that we need on our team?
So for me, I got done with my redshirt freshman year, been my first year at at Columbia State. And the thing about junior college is you're kind of always looking to that next step. Obviously, you're focused on what's important in front of you. You can't look ahead too far, but it's still in the back of your mind because at least for me, I knew I wanted to get to the next level, whatever it may be. And so you're always looking ahead. But I get done with the first year and my coach sat me down. He's like, look, there's some Division I teams that want you, but if you want to get to the level that you want to play at, which is an SEC level, Power 5 level, and you want to play with the best of the best, you need to come back for a year, do another year of development and make it. So then I get to the second year, I start the season, and it ends up being the COVID year. That's why there's only 29 innings. It's 2020. So it was very strange. I was talking to teams, but it was still a dead period. So the Division I's weren't technically allowed to come watch me yet that season, during the season. They came watch me during the fall, and you have your talks. So then you get to the season, and then it all kind of went haywire because some guys didn't know what was going to happen. Did they have space? Is their seniors going to leave? Are they going to have more eligibility? So it was a very rocky road. But a lot of the teams, they're all transparent, which was really nice.
This was Jim. This was pretty interesting to get the perspective from Brandon, because we've gotten perspective from guys that were already at a school that were seniors or juniors, and now COVID happens, and now they have to decide, well, what is my next step? You, on the other hand, knew that you were trying to move to the next level and were in talks of moving to the next level, and then all of a sudden, boom, this happens, and like now you have more wrenches that you have to, sift through than a lot of other people, because you got to decide, well, what school am I going to go to, and is there going to be a spot for me, because I don't know what the other people on that club are doing. So inevitably you get Ole Miss, and they reach out to you, and what was it about Ole Miss?
Yeah. So the thing, I wasn't allowed, not allowed, but we wasn't allowed to go on tours or
Campus
visits. Yeah, campus visits. So I actually never been to Ole Miss. I only went once. I was 10 years old. I went to watch an Alabama game there. Didn't even really look at I just saw the field. Didn't really even think about it. I was 10 years old. Really didn't focus on any of that. So I never knew the campus, never knew the town of Oxford, and even some of these other schools. I had no idea, never been there. And Ole Miss, it was truly the word of Coach Bianco and Coach Lafferty, Carl Lafferty. It was solely based on relationships, what they were telling me, and what I was sifting through, what was going to be the best opportunity for me, just through talks.
So you get there, and then obviously you said that you didn't really go, you didn't do a visit, but all of a sudden now you choose there, you go there. Are you nervous? Are you excited? What is the emotion just stepping on that campus and going, oh shit, man, like this is kind of real now. I'm here, and now I've got to like put up or shut up.
You see, I think the nervous and exciting feeling, I think it's one and the same. I think they go hand in hand together personally, on a sports level. So when I get there, you have both those feelings. You're like, man, I don't know any of the guys. I don't know what I'm stepping into. I don't know what kind of environment I'm stepping into. And I get there, and the first thing that they do is give me a tour of the facility. It's the first time I've ever walked inside the facility. And I'm just blown away. I'm like, oh my goodness. So this is what an SEC program, this is what they have to offer. And I was just mesmerized. And then they take me to the Grove. They take me through the campus, and I'm like, goodness gracious, this is beautiful. And then you meet the guys 2 days later, and you're like, man, some of these guys are huge. Like, this is an SEC program. This is what it's supposed to look like. But then you meet these people like Tim Elka or Max Shofey, and they're so welcoming, but they're two different personalities. One's from Florida, one's from Chicago. Mm-hmm. You go somewhere like Columbia State, everybody's from Tennessee, or you get one guy from Alabama or one guy from Georgia, or I'm from Cottonelle, Alabama. I mean, how many people do we get around the country? So the diversity was huge for me, but it was a really cool experience to have when I first arrived.
Yeah, I mean, the nervousness and excitement, you're right, they go hand in hand, but obviously, things got real really quick, because you get thrown right into the fire and make your Rebel debut versus Texas. You were at Globe Life Field, so you threw basically scoreless innings with one hit, no walks. What is it like? Two things. What is it like knowing, oh man, like this is as real as it's going to get, and against really, really like elite competition, maybe, and possibly the best competition that we might see all year, and then having such success in a big league park, like what was that feeling like?
The big league thing, it was awesome, because you show up the day before and you take BP on the field, you practice on the field, and you walk through. And as a kid, I went to the Atlanta games. I went to the Old Turner Field, and you're in the stands. You see how big it is. You see how cool it is. But then you actually step on the field, and now you're standing on the mound in practice. You're like, oh my goodness, like this is a coliseum. That's how I treat it. Like, this is unreal. This is where you want to make it, even at the next level. Not so much being satisfied with Ole Miss, but making it to the next level. It was like eye opening. But it takes you back to when you were 8 years old or 10 years old, when you go to your first ball game, and you're like, these people are higher of normal people that you're used to, and then now you're one of them. So it was really cool. And then the second thing is being thrown into the fire. We played 2 games before. They were all top 10 competitors, and we were playing at such a high level. It was just really cool. It was a really cool moment to not only help the team, but to feel welcome, to feel like you make it through the barrier, and you're one of them. So
Daniel,
really cool.
Daniel, it's 2 years later and I'm still sick, man. Brandon, I had tickets and was supposed to be there, but you know about the weather here. Anyway, I couldn't. My car was buried, and I couldn't get out. Luckily, Globe Life refunded my tickets, but I watched it on TV and it just wasn't the same. I wanted to be there, and to watch the SEC versus the Big 12. I'm still sick about it, but y'all took care of business.
It was awesome. I mean, the SEC took care of business all weekend, so it was a really cool situation for all of us to even be there.
Well, you took that and you ended up making 18 appearances on the season. Pretty solid. I mean, obviously, the stats probably not where you want them to be. You said it yourself, nervous and excitement. You get thrown into the fire, but obviously, when you go from JUCO to an elite level, Power 5 Division 1 team, like there's got to be a learning curve that comes with that. So I got a couple questions in regards to just that experience. What in that first year, what was the thing that you learned the most?
The biggest thing I learned is at that such elite level, like an SEC baseball, not only every game, but every at bat, there is no such thing as easy outs. And I ain't trying to knock like junior college or high school level, but sometimes you run into players and they're just not as good as the top end players. That's just evident. But now you go to an SEC, everybody's good. Even the guy that's hitting 182, batting 9, he's just there for defense. It don't matter. He's at an SEC program for a reason, and he's in that lineup.
I can't believe he just called out Lane Forsythe from Mississippi State like that.
See, I didn't. But the level of competition is such higher than what you're used to, and there's a big learning curve that come with it. Like for me, like you said, it was a very rocky year. I didn't make my first SEC appearance until the 9th SEC weekend. It was against Vanderbilt. But then I threw 60% of my innings from that weekend through super regionals. So it's pretty cool. It was a learning curve for sure. Learning about yourself, learning about the competition, and being able to handle it all in general.
After all the learning that happens after that first year, you get a chance to probably sit back and reflect. When doing that, going into the next year, what was the one thing that you felt, after this first year, I really need to get better at this? What was that one thing that you felt you needed?
It was the same thing that was holding me back that first year at Ole Miss. It was a breaking ball, having a secondary pitch that I can put into the zone regularly to keep hitters off balance. Because junior college, you have a fastball that's 91 plus, 92 plus, A place. You're good. You're solid. Now you go to an SEC ball. If you only have a fastball that's 93, 95, they love that. They'd rather face that than a guy who's throwing 86, 88 with 4 pitches. So being able to have a secondary pitch, I knew that was going to be the biggest barrier to allow me to get to where I wanted to be.
Yeah. So you guys end up, closing out the season with, a super regional loss to Arizona. We, not to jump forward, but we know what the trajectory ends up being.
Mhm.
But after that loss, what was the feeling like, and was there just this overwhelming sense of hunger to get back out there and try to make your way back?
Yeah, you go home. Obviously, the plane ride is miserable. You have to fly 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, whatever it was, from Arizona back to Ole Miss. You get there, there's a welcome party there. People are telling you, good job, congratulations on the year. But then you go back to a couple buddies' houses and you're sitting there and you're sitting around, you're like, this can't be the end. Because you're so close. You can taste Omaha, you can taste a trophy. and you sit there collectively and you're like, this, we're not going to allow this to happen again, or we're going to make it, because this feeling that we're going to have, we don't want to have it ever again.
So, our last Ole Miss guest, Hunter Elliott, he said you were his team captain for the Omaha Challenge. Obviously, moving into that second season, in the fall. As a captain, what was your draft strategy, and like how did that pan out for you?
So I went for overall athletes. There's a lot of different competitions. You have some strength competitions, you have speed, swimming. I went for the most complete athletes at that given, I guess, slot value or round value that it was at. And also, when you get to the middle rounds, it's not even so much who's the best athlete, it's who's going to give you the most. So 80% of my team, 90% of my team was all freshmen. I knew they're going to give me their all because they had something to prove. They wanted to compete with everybody to show they're not a pushover. So not only going for all around athletes, but also get the young guys, give them a chance, see what they have in them.
How'd that work out?
I think we ended up finishing second, maybe third, right around in there. There was just a few. I mean, you run into some gauntlets of like strength, and you look over and you have like Kemp Alderman, Ben Van Cleve, Tim Elko, and you look over and you're like, yeah, my freshmen that are 6'2", 180 pounds, lifting 135 pounds in the weight room, just not going to cut it against these guys. So we ran out of gas in some events, but we competed well.
We had the champ himself on here, Derek Diamond. He talked about his easy work.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's easy work that comes to athleticism for Derek Diamond. I've never seen it before. He doesn't do anything bad. I just don't know how to explain it.
I do know this, Brandon. I actually watched the draft in person. I stayed after that game and watched. And, I was trying to figure out draft strategies, this, that, and the other. And you were talking about who would give you the most. And so Hayden Leatherwood's a multiple time guest, and he's actually kind of like a little brother to me. And so when I asked, I started asking around. I was like, "What's up with Hayden going last?" They're like, "Because he don't try." And they're like, "We don't want him." I was like, "Hey, that's a bad rep to have, dude."
It's so true, though. I mean, you love Hayden to death. The big thing about him, he's just a gamer. When Friday Night Lights show up, he's there. But Omaha Challenge, he's a fifth year. It's the end of the fall. His body's killing him. You knew he wasn't going to give you all versus a freshman that's just getting there.
It's a interesting strategy. I'm sure like everyone has their thing, but as you guys move into the spring, we got to talk about your season. The past season you went 41 and 2/3 innings pitched. You had a 1-3 record. You had 12 saves, 4.36 ERA, and 24 appearances. We all know Ole Miss had struggles, out the gate and, kind of throughout the season, yourself included, but you caught your groove, starting with the Governor's Cup against Mississippi State. Then you became kind of the go-to guy to close down games and put together a lot of saves. So, from the beginning of the year up until the end of that Governor's Cup, like what was your what was the one thing that you were like, that was the one thing I did that made all the difference, that made the change?
So for me, and you hate to say it, but it was like a lot of our season. I started out really hot, the same thing as our team. I mean, I think I gave up one run in like my first, I don't know, 9 appearances or something. So I was really feeling myself. And then we fall into that lull. And the way that you got out of that lull, it wasn't really changing mechanics or changing this and that. It was Coach B sat me down and he's like, "Look, you're our guy. You've been our guy from the beginning. Just be you. Go out there, pitch with the passion that I pitch with. Don't change it. Stop trying to be too fine, and just let my stuff play against them."
Yeah, I mean, obviously that one adjustment made all the difference. I mean, and it's really a mindset thing more than anything, just the belief in yourself, but having those guys behind you and coaches, validating that probably goes a really long way, because you went on to have saves against the best teams in the country: Arkansas, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, Arizona, Miami. I mean, like those are top tier, championship programs. Those are all programs that start the season off saying Omaha or bust. Um, so I want to go to Coral Gables. I want to talk about the save down in Miami. What was it like going to their house and getting that save in the regionals against them?
It was really cool. It was an interesting regional because we had the tropical storm or Cat 1 hurricane, whatever it was. We got backed up 2 days. So sitting around with the team, just coming off the high of even making it in general. And then we actually played a dogfight against Arizona that night against a team that put us out last year. So it started there. We got the save, and then the next day we come out, and it was like this persona or vibe around us, like we're not going to be denied. And I'm not trying to put a knock on Miami or their atmosphere or anything, but we've been in bigger atmospheres as far as stadium wise and fan wise. So you get into the game and it's a true pitcher's duel against their ace against our ace number 2 or our 1A or 1B, whatever you want to call it, with Hunter Elliott. And we knew the second we got the lead and I got the call, I think it was in the 8th. I knew it was our time. We were steamrolling. We were feeling good about ourselves, and it was full confidence going into that game.
Daniel, I didn't really talk about it with Hunter because he wasn't there. He's a freshman, but Brandon was. When that committee put them slotted against Arizona out the gate, I feel like that was planned. They wanted that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the NCAA, everybody knows they love good storylines. So why not put us against Arizona, who put us out the year before? Miami, who's denied Ole Miss twice of going to an Omaha that a lot of people don't know since 2008. And then on the other side, who are we going to run into? Southern Miss and LSU. They love nothing more than a good storyline. So you see Arizona, you're like, oh, okay, this was no coincidence at all. But we loved it. It was nice.
Well, you mentioned you guys, at the beginning of the season, you started feeling yourself, but I think Tim Elko was quoted by saying, they were asking him about this run, and he said, don't let you guys get hot.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that's when you went on to finish off Arizona. You advanced to the super regional and absolutely like take a Southern Miss team that, with all indications like that, and no disrespect, man, we said it on this podcast that Southern Miss could be the best team in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And there probably was a time where that was pretty true. But you guys, outplayed them and really just earned it, man. You went out there and you just from top to bottom dominated those guys, and you advanced to Omaha. Obviously, that is the goal. Obviously, not the ultimate goal, but that's the step before you guys, all right, go. This is now the time. But before you go to Omaha, you got to talk me through the feeling. Obviously, you get the dog pile. Are you a top guy? Are you a middle guy? Are you a bottom guy? Are you like?
Well, see, being a closer, you kind of start preparing to be a bottom guy. That just mentally, you go through your mental imagery, all the ideas that go through your head, and you always want to be the last guy to throw the pitch. Actually, at Southern Miss, Josh Mallett threw the last pitch. I think it was like we were up 5. Coach V said, we're just not going to use you because he was dominating. Josh Mallett, I think 3 innings, maybe 8K. It was unreal what he was doing at that time. So at the time I was in the bullpen, so I was a top guy, and it was really nice. And then you get to the last game, and you actually end up getting on the bottom of the dog pile. But in the way I explain it, it hurts. You think it's great until you have all these big guys on top of you, and then you have 2,000 pounds on it. It hurts a lot. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, you just gotta hope that the feeling of jubilation runs through you enough to carry you until the end of
And
this dog pile.
it ran to me. It ran me about 30 seconds when I was under the dog pile. And then I didn't feel it for the rest of the day. And then I wake up the next morning and my knee and my hip, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm in pain right now. There might be something seriously wrong with me.
Yeah, Landon Sims and Logan Tanner the year before, because they both came on the show. They thought they were going to die at the bottom. They had to start screaming for people to get off.
You do. you run into about that 20-second feeling, and then you actually realize, like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of weight on top of me. So you let people know they need to get off in a hurry. Stop enjoying it so much.
So, we got to talk Omaha. Brandon, to be a closer in baseball, you got to have a very, very short memory. You go in, you have a rough outing against Arkansas, but you're able to bounce back against Oklahoma. Talk to me about the ability to, put aside the Arkansas outing, but then come back to face Oklahoma to win it all.
I feel a lot of that with how the season went. Just because earlier in the year I had that rough patch. It was about 4 or 5 outings in a row that was bad, and I really had to sit down. Rather it was with Coach B. I actually talked to Taylor Broadway a couple times, and understand that being in the closer role, yes, you do have to have that short memory, and I think it's a skill. It's not so much something that you have it a little bit, but you can train it. You can tell your body and have the ability to train it. And being able to go through that adversity earlier in the year, it helped at the end, because you get done with Arkansas and then you get to the Oklahoma game, and there is no past. It is what's in the moment, what is in front of you at the time, and that's the best way to get over it.
And I think that speaks to what Coach B's talk with you about his belief in you, because you had a bad outing before. It didn't matter. He knew exactly who he was going to in that moment.
Exactly. The belief that he showed me, but not even so much him, the team. It was, I'm sure, behind some closed doors, some people, but there's always conversations like that. But to me, and the vibe that I got from an average of the team was, you're our guy. You're going to continue to be our guy. And when you're on the mound, we believe that the win is coming.
Yeah, man, and obviously the win did come, the biggest win of all. You go into that game against Oklahoma, and between the two of you guys, probably the two hottest teams in college baseball at that point. Well-deserved run to get yourself in that position, to play for, a college national championship. But you were electric, that entire outing. So, I'm assuming, as you stated, you were at the bottom of that dog pile and you really didn't have a choice in the matter. But prior to that, when you're going into the last pitch, what are you thinking? Are you thinking, I'm just need to deliver a pitch, just let them hit themselves out? Or are you saying to yourself, like, this could be the last pitch and this could be the one, like, that, like, does something for me that really, like, allows me to tell a story for the rest of my life?
So what was neat about that last pitch was it was a 1-2 count, and it was actually a pitch before that that was fouled off, and it was fouled off of Hayden Dunhurst's mask, and he fell back for a second. He stumbled, and the play stopped, and I walked up to him. Umpire gave me a ball, and I was able to walk out to the mound. And when I was walking out to the mound and I was looking around, I saw everybody on their feet, and that's the first time I took out of the game, and I was like, oh wow, like I kind of understood what was truly happening in that moment. Now, when you get back on the road, you kind of have to lock it back in and stuff. But you hear the buzz. You hear it was almost like a ticking clock for an alarm to go off, like it was about to happen. So going into that last pitch, you just have this feeling like this is it. Like this is the last pitch before that we're going to be champions forever. You can tell yourself, yeah, I was locked in, but being able to walk around the mound, Hayden taking a breath, looking at him, making sure we're good, you kind of was able to embrace it a little more.
And so you get the last out, you guys dogpile. At this point, you're at the very bottom, right? You're taking it all in. You're loving life for 30 seconds and you're hating life, and then eventually you get up and it's, what is the moment like with your team? Is it like a sense of relief? Is it still just like a sense of excitement, or has it not really, like, in that moment, has it really set in yet?
It didn't set in. I understand the moment now, but the way I explained it, definitely, especially right after, it was about a 20-minute period. I don't remember. I don't really recall what happened, what I did after the last pitch. Last thing I remember is it coming out of my hand, and that was it. And then 20 minutes go by, and you're headed to the press conference, and you kind of sit down, like walking. I was walking with Hunter, and it was kind of like, oh my goodness, like this just happened. Like, well, we just won the national championship. So for me, it didn't set in. I had to go watch the celebration off of the replay of the last pitch and see what I did and see what the team did, the dog pile and everything like that. It was a really cool moment, even though you really don't remember every little detail of it because you kind of black out.
Yeah, and the question I got for you, we've had so many Mississippi State and Ole Miss guests on, and happened to go to games for all of them. Love both y'all's teams, and for the state of Mississippi, because I lived in South Haven, it's such a cool thing the way baseball is here. And Daniel talked about Southern Miss earlier. So how cool is it, man? Like, even though they obviously are a rival, is it cool that Mississippi State and Ole Miss go back to back like that?
Oh, absolutely. You can put the rivalry aside. Those guys are still great guys over there. They're the highest level of competition that you can play, and being able to go back to back and seeing what it meant for the state. People coming up to you, both Southern Miss fans, Mississippi State fans, as much as they don't want to admit, they know it's good for the state of Mississippi because right now that's the safe haven of college baseball. That's where you want to go. You have back-to-back national champions. You have Southern Miss, who hosted a super regional, who was 2 games away from making it to a World Series. Mississippi itself is the king of college baseball. It don't matter really what university you look at. So it's a really cool moment to go back-to-back for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So y'all win it all. You come back to Oxford, you celebrate. But for you, you got to start thinking next steps. So how long before celebration's over and you start thinking about the next steps with the upcoming draft?
So the last game was June 26th. I want to say the draft might have been around July 17th. So you had about a 2.5-week period. The call started happening June 28th. They gave you about a day grace period, and then all of a sudden the calls start happening, and they're coming from all over. And you have to set aside the celebration for a second and start making decisions. Okay, where do I fall? What do I want to do at the next step? So it happens very quickly, that's for sure.
Yeah. And so the day of the draft, where are you at? Like, how, everybody's got their own setup, what they feel comfortable with. Were you with your family? What were you doing?
Yeah, so I was just sitting at the house, just surrounded by my family, my girlfriend, just really close people that I knew had my back from the beginning. And I didn't want it to be a big ordeal, just because that is just how I am. I don't want it to be this big celebration, because that's just what I expected. So I was just surrounded by some close friends and family.
Yeah. So you get drafted by Kansas City in the 9th round. So, I mean, like you said, 2.5 weeks, right? Like, you just won a national championship and you feel like things can't get any better. And then here you are, you're getting drafted in the pros in the 9th round by Kansas City. So just talk to us about that feeling. Cause you're still on this high, and now, like, somehow, some way you're getting higher.
Yeah. So when you first go to Ole Miss, really at any level of baseball, there's always that next step of you dreamed of when you was a little kid, the first time you put on T-ball pants and you ran out there. You want to play professional baseball. You want to get paid. You want that to say, well, what do you do for a living? I play baseball. You always wanted that, but you thought you were already on the highest of highs. You won a national championship. You thought you did it all. And then you get the call and you realize, okay, maybe I actually did just make it to the next level of what you thought was already the highest peak. It was a really cool moment, that is for sure.
Yeah, and so many of you guys got drafted, and it's just a really cool story for y'all to not only be able to win a national championship, but then be able to take that next step. You've mentioned a lot of the guys, and it's just really cool for Ole Miss, and like you said, and for the state as a whole, it just really shows the talent that's coming out of here. You talked about as a kid, that feeling. We talked about, has the national championship wore off? Has it hit, that you say when you're a little kid, you want to play professional baseball, like, has it hit, like, or is it still, kind of caught in the moment that you're a professional baseball player now?
I remember when we went out there, I went to Arizona for about a month, and then I got sent to Columbia with the other draft guys, and that was in our draft in Kansas City. And you went and played your first game, and you get done, and you're like, you did it. Like, you're playing professional baseball, even though you feel like you're just playing the same game you did when you were 10 years old. that moment, it didn't hit you really until after the game, because it just felt like another baseball game while you were playing. But then afterwards, you kind of sit back and you reflect, and you're like, wow, it's a really cool thing that I just did.
Yeah, and so we talked about Taylor Broadway earlier, and he's one of the many guys that we've brought back on. We had him when he was playing for Ole Miss, and then after he'd played some minor league ball. One of the biggest adjustments that me and Daniel like to talk about with the guys is how you go from an SEC crowd, or you go from Omaha in your case, to then you go to the single A or the summer league ball. Like, what's it like when you go from those huge crowds to the small ones? Does it feel very awkward?
Oh yeah, definitely. And me being biased, like being a closer, you kind of live off the adrenaline. You live off the big crowd, the big moment. It's life or death for for an entire university. And then you go from 28,000, we were in Omaha, then you get shipped off to Arizona in your first game. There is no fans. You have coaches on both sides sitting in the middle of sitting behind home plate, and you're throwing against these other guys, and you're like, I feel like I'm at a little league park. It's just fences along the side. There is no grandstands. Some guys are wearing shorts. It was weird. That's just the only way you can explain it, because it was just so different. So you kind of have to rewire your mind of, how do I find that competitive edge again? Because you go from the highest of highs to now, not the lowest of lows, but something completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I saw this correctly, are you playing for the Columbia Fireflies?
Yes, sir. So that's where our low 18. That's where I played for, I don't know, a month until the season ended.
And how did you do in your time there? Did you get some run?
Yes. So I mean, I had my few appearances. It was pretty much just to get your feet wet type of thing. You run into what they were really trying to get, and what I was trying to get out of it was just a little taste. What is pro ball life? Just so you're prepared a little more for the next level next year when you really do it for an entire season. I mean, it was different. The competition, you can have some high school guys who are 19 years old, but you also have guys that have been in the system for 5, 6 years. And then you have guys that, like us, who just got drafted out of college. So you have all these different personalities, these different backgrounds, and it's a different kind of baseball. That is for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So my question is, you talked about getting ready for next year. So right now, what does it look like? What is the next step to get yourself ready for next year? What do y'all do?
Yeah, so I just got back home this Saturday. We were in skill instructs, fall instructs, whatever you want to call it. And now we won't go back until spring training. So now we'll get an off-season plan. They'll have our throwing laid out how they think we want it, then we'll modify it. We'll have weight training programs that we have to I guess, checkpoint. And it all is building up to spring training coming in March.
Man, it seems like, they got it all laid out for you. What are you anticipating it to be, grueling, or nothing, compared to what you faced in the past as far as off season conditions?
Yes, I'd say it's something that we're already used to. Being at a program like Ole Miss, and I'm sure like all the SEC programs, like I've talked to the guys that were drafted with us, it's real structured, but it's also it's on you. It's not like they're going to be on you. They're going to be on top of you, calling you every day. It's going to be whatever you put in is what you get out of it. So it really determines how much work do you want to put in when nobody is watching, and to see how ready you're going to be compared to the other guys when coming back.
Well, after talking to you for an hour now, I have a feeling you're going to go back in March ready to dominate.
And that is for sure the plan.
So, man, that's the interview, man. But before we get you out of here, dude, we got to play this or that. It's like a
Okay.
game. It's a game we play with all of our guests. It's very simple. Probably the easiest game you've ever played. It really is. I give you two options. You choose one option or the other.
All right.
Can't say both. Can't say neither. You got to be decisive. Just stick to your guns and boom, pick it.
Perfect.
So, coming out of the gate hot. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
What's your favorite kind of pizza? Are you a deep dish guy, a thin crust guy, a Detroit
No,
style guy?
I'm as original as it's going to be. I want a pepperoni pizza. I want it a little more saucy than cheesy, but I want original crust all the way through.
You know what this leads me to? Did you win the Pizza Bowl, Brandon?
I did not, unfortunately.
Mm, mm,
I
mm.
know. Well, see, I'm not a guy to pitch blame on, but our team captain was Tim Elko, and he drafted him. So if there is a blame to go around, I'll put it on our manager.
Does it make you hurt to know that while you were running, Hayden Leatherwood brought a whole pizza to my son and he was eating it while watching y'all run?
Well, see, no, that actually makes me feel a lot better knowing who Hayden Leatherwood is. I'm glad he didn't eat the entire pizza by himself and he shared a little bit. So that actually makes me feel better.
I mean, it from what I hear, I mean, this is hearsay. The pizza wasn't that good. So
You didn't miss out.
You didn't miss out.
Good.
So
That's fine.
next question. What is more iconic in the Ole Miss lure? Is it Hunter Elliott's nice flow of hair, or is it Tim Elko's nicely groomed lip broom?
Let's see. You have to go Tim Elko, but that's biased because it's Tim Elko. Everybody knows who the captain is. You get ESPN posted and they'll say the captain. Like everybody knows who Tim Elko is. If you ask me, Hunter Elliott's hair might become more iconic than Tim Elko's mustache.
He says all his power comes from it.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be like Samson in the Bible. The second he cuts those luscious locks, it's going. It's over. I feel bad for Hunter at that point.
You know, when we talked to Hunter, he said, don't be surprised if this hair takes on like a personality on its own and just becomes like this symbol associated with Ole Miss baseball. I feel like there's an evolution to this hair that's about to take place, and we're gonna just be blown away.
I'm just ready for Halloween when you look up and you see all these little kids trying to have this luscious lock of hair like Elliott does. So I'm ready to see.
Daniel, he's not a guest of the show, but you know who will put the proof to us? It'll be Jordan Beck from Tennessee, because part of when he got there, he had to cut off all his hair. And so that long mullet he had is gone. So we'll see if hair flow is where he got the power in that bat.
We'll definitely see. Brendan, are you a beach guy or a lake guy?
I go lake. I'll say lake. Grew up around the lake more. Beach is fun, but you can't beat a nice lake day.
Would you rather play wiffle ball or dodgeball?
Dodgeball. I love dodgeball.
Especially when you're throwing heat like him.
Yeah, like
it makes life easier at that point. Makes the game a little easier.
When you're reaching 90 plus on the gun, like you want to like light some folks up with a dodgeball.
Oh, absolutely. We played it in the Omaha Challenge all the time. And there's nothing better than you get these little position players who think they're so athletic and they catch everything and they think they're better than you. And you light them up one time, they're like, all right.
92 to the dome with the dodgeball.
There's no better feeling than that.
Would you rather have a giraffe neck or T-Rex arm? You have to pick one.
Giraffe neck.
Could you imagine that sight on the bump? Big giraffe neck.
You know how intimidating that'd be?
That'd be pretty sweet. You could cut the distance for sure.
Oh, absolutely. You'd be getting down the mountain with a lot of extension, that's for sure.
Yeah. What about a concert or a sporting event? Which would you choose?
Sporting event. I think I've been to 2 concerts in my life. I feel like music's never been important to me though. So that's an easy choice. I can listen to music in the car. You can't go watch a game 7 every day. So for me,
what music, like if you got in the car right now, what would be on?
Classic rock. I grew up around it with my dad. That's what we listen to the radio every single day. That is the music that I lean to.
All right. And so since you answered the question sporting event, what's the one sporting event that you have to go to?
There's a lot of bucket.
Any of them are an option. Like we're not talking about money if you had to go to one.
Man, there's a lot of bucket item ones. Army Navy. That would be my choice. I think the Army Navy is one of the most iconic games. But like a Duke Kansas basketball game, Duke North Carolina basketball game, that would be really awesome. Ohio State, Michigan in the Big House would be another good one.
If you're gonna go to Duke, North Carolina, you got to go to Duke, right?
You gotta go to Duke. Yeah, you gotta go to Duke.
what is great, Daniel, he's the first guest that's actually been specific. Usually people will say an event, they don't get specific, and you're picking rivalries even more, which so you're thinking deep into it. So I like that. That's a little bit different. Usually somebody else said World Series, the NBA Finals, UFC fight, whatever. You went to college rivalries. I dig that.
I think about this all the time because it's on my bucket list. And the second I get done playing sports, hopefully it's a long career, but once I get done, each one of those bucket list items will get checked off at some point.
Right. Nice. Would you rather be a hero or a villain?
Hero.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Captain America.
Nice.
All right. Would you rather win $100 million in the lottery, or make 20 million playing baseball?
Make 20 million playing baseball.
He just lied to you.
You would rather give up
All right,
extra
so
$80 million?
No. You got to think about this. So $100 million, all of a sudden, 35% of it's going to be out of taxes. So now you're really only looking, I don't know, 65 million. And the people that you know, the doors that you're in, the experiences, I don't think you can beat playing for $20 million.
Look, let me tell you this, Brandon. All right, I want you to listen closely.
I'm listening.
I'm not saying don't follow your dream, but what I am telling you is that lottery money might be taxed, but it's guaranteed, baby. You gon' get it.
He's lying to you right now, Brandon. He would pitch for 20 million all day long.
I figured.
I'd pitch for significantly less all day long. Trust me on that. All right, Brandon, man, before we let you bounce, dude, is there anything you want to plug or promote? Anything you want to put out there for everybody?
No, I just want to say thank y'all for having me on. I want to thank my Lord Jesus Christ just for allowing me to have this opportunity, this platform. But besides that, I really do appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man. Anytime, man. Since you don't have anything to promote, I'm going to put it out there for people. People want to know. They want to know what Brandon Johnson is doing. Like, now that he's got a little bit of time in the off season, like what's he going to be doing? So if you're wondering, go on over to Instagram at Brandon.Johnson14. Or when the season pops up, go to at KC Royals, because I guarantee you're going to see him there. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but eventually you're going to see Brandon all over that Instagram handle. Brandon, dude, it's been a pleasure. If there's anything we can do for you, reach out to us. We'd love to have you back on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate it. Thank y'all for y'all's night.
Absolutely. That's Brandon Johnson, everybody. We're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back, we got to, shed some tears over the Cardinals. We got to talk Major League Baseball playoffs. We got to talk college football and pro football.